Welcome to Golden Bluted, home of the college football fan. So if you are a college football fan, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button because that's all we do around here. And when you get a second, go check out the Patreon page. We have a lot of great perks over there. Also check out our revamped and redesigned website. Created by Joey Foster, we have 9 great writers, led by our 2 head writers, Michael Walker and Scotty B, the Baylor King. I gotta tell y'all something. I really like my subscribers. I really like my viewers and my subscribers. They come up with some great video ideas. Whenever I got forwarded this email, it popped off the screen. This video idea was submitted by Leonard J. Weirich or Wyrich. One of those pronunciations has to be correct. But his video idea was a Big 12 Pac-12 merger. That makes too much sense. But that it would actually fall on the Pac-12 because of their stuck-up-nose attitude to religious institutions. Remember, the Big 12 does have Baylor and BYU. 2 religious institutions. But putting that aside, I really think this would work. And a lot of the teams that are already in the Big 12 have that Tier 1 research facility requirement that the Pac-12 has in place for their members. Although when you do a merger, you don't necessarily have to go by the rules you have in place right there. So that's another thing that could be done away with if the Pac-12 were to decide to merge with the Big 12. And both of these conferences need this. The Pac-12 needs some type of lifeline. The Big 12 also needs some type of lifeline. The Big 12 is used to being picked apart. I mean, first round they got Nebraska, Colorado, Texas A&M, and Missouri taken away. And now they got Oklahoma and Texas taken away. They're sick and tired of that. Stop the bleeding. And I know, they went out and got BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Houston. That helps. But you can't maintain that way. So if they can't go out and get some members from other conferences like the Big Ten, that's not happening. ACC, maybe. SEC, that's not happening. Then why not try a merger? A merger. And I really like this idea. So you'd have the Pac-12. Oregon, Oregon State, Washington, Washington State, Cal, Stanford, Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, Utah, UCLA, and USC. And the Big 12, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Kansas, Kansas State, Baylor, TCU, West Virginia, Texas Tech, BYU, Houston, Cincinnati, UCF, coming together as one. But that would also mean that the Pac-12 would have to break away from the alliance. Or the other way around, the Big 12 would decide to join the alliance. That would actually make more sense. So you'd have the ACC Big 10 plus the Pac-12 Big 12 merger. Maybe the Big 10 and the ACC think about merging. See, that's the only way of combating what the SEC is doing. The SEC is trying to completely take over college football. The only way to combat that? Numbers. Well, they already have the alliance. If the Big 12 and the Pac-12 were to merge, the ACC and the Big 10 were to merge, that would be a lot more numbers against the SEC. And that's exactly what needs to happen if you want to keep the SEC from monopolizing college football. Pac-12 is basically the West Coast. The Big 12 basically Midwest, but they've kind of spread their tentacles out east with Cincinnati, West Virginia, and UCF. Now, this would be a logistic problem for those 3 teams because instead of adding teams closer to them, you're stretching it even further west. So that's the only thing that I don't like about that. It wouldn't benefit my team at all. It would hurt us. We already have travel issues. And I know there's planes. You can get there just like that. But I'm telling you, the wear and tear of going 1,000 miles at least for a road game every stinking year, it wears on you. And if you don't think that, then you're fooling yourself. But as a concept, putting the feelings of West Virginia, Cincinnati, and UCF fans out the window, this actually does make sense. These 2 conferences are actually pretty close together. So if the Pac-12 were to merge with somebody, the Big 12 would make the most sense. Now, for the Big 12, they're actually in the middle of the United States. Kind of spread off east, but mainly in the middle of the United States. They could basically merge with anybody. It would fit with the Big 10. It would fit with the ACC. It would fit with the SEC. But for the Pac-12, they would need the Big 12. I mean, I guess they can merge with the Big 10. It would kind of spread across the top and all the way over. If they merge with the ACC, they'd be skipping the Midwest. If they merge with the SEC, they'd be skipping the Midwest. So really, as far as mergers go, for the Pac-12, only 2 options. Big 12, Big 10. I think the Big 10 is more interested in picking teams off of the Pac-12. I know the Big 10 is interested in Oregon, Washington, UCLA, USC, Colorado, and Utah. That's half the Pac-12 right there. Well, if the Pac-12 were to merge with somebody, I don't think that would happen. I think those teams would stay in the 2 conferences that merge together. Now, what it would be called, I have no idea. Or maybe it would just be labeled a merger, but they could keep their separate names. I don't know how all that would work. But I do like the concept of this because both of these 2 conferences, they need help. They need a lot of help. Big 12 has gotten picked apart over and over again. They keep having to backfill. I don't see any way the Big 12 is able to pick off from another conference. I just don't see it happening. Maybe the Pac-12. I mean, you got Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah. That would be a bad grab for the Big 12. That would also benefit the Pac-12. It would keep the Big 12 from picking off of them, because I think that's the only way the Big 12 can pick off a Power 5 conference. Otherwise, they're just going to keep adding group of 5, group of 5, group of 5, and eventually the Big 12 gonna be a group of 5 conference. So I really like this idea. I just don't know about the Pac-12 rules. They don't like religious schools. And the Tier 1 research facility rule. I don't know if they'd be willing to bend on those 2 rules. I mean, they flat out missed out on BYU because of that. BYU went to the Big 12 because of that rule. It's not really a rule, but it's a standard of the Pac-12. That would be a lot of members for one conference. It'd be 24 members. And it would be spread from West Coast to East Coast. But I don't think it would be very good for the East Coast teams. The West Coast teams would be fine because there's a lot of teams around them. But the guys on the East Coast, they'd be kind of isolated. Maybe the Big 12 Pac-12 merger would be willing to sacrifice those teams for the merger. I don't know. There's a lot of what-ifs that go into this. Could it happen? Yeah, I think it could happen. But the likelihood of this happening, I don't think it's very high. And it's mainly because of the Pac-12. They have this stuck-up attitude like they're better than religious institutions. And you gotta have a Tier 1 research facility to be a part of the Pac-12. Well, those so-called standards that you have might cost you in the end. You might get picked apart because of that. So y'all let me know in the comments section. Out of all the possible mergers out there, which one do you think would make the most sense? Do you think it would be this Pac-12 Big 12 merger? Do you think it'd be Pac-12 and Big 10, Big 12 and anybody else? Possibly the SEC, ACC? I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities out there. I have a very open mind, so I'm open to anything. All suggestions welcomed. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do it this way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pin a comment from me in the comments section, and I'm going to give you all the choices, and I really want you to vote on which merger you think is most likely going to happen. I think one of them will happen, to be honest with you. But which one is the most likely going to happen? Which one makes the most sense? I'll run through the list real quick. You have the Pac-12 Big 12. You have the Pac-12 Big 10. You have the Big 12 Big 10. You have the Big 12 ACC. Big 12 SEC. ACC Big 10. ACC SEC. SEC Big 10. And I'll even throw out the 2 options that seem highly unlikely. Pac-12 ACC. Pac-12 SEC. There you go. That's literally all the single options as far as mergers go that there is. So y'all let me know which one of these combos has the highest likelihood of actually happening. This is going to be a very interesting vote. I might actually set up a vote in the community as well. This has piqued my interest. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you on my next show.